Hello learners, in this lecture we will see how to prepare a grid lines when we get any practical projects. So again, it's the same window what I opened. So again, I'll go with the use built-in settings with, and by default we know these things are going to appear up. If it's not coming, try to adjust all these things. We already seen that in the previous lecture. I'll click on OK button. So now what you can see two options, right? One is uniform grid spacing. The second is a custom grid spacing. First, we'll try to understand what is the importance of a uniform grid spacing. So I'll take you to one of the Autocad drawing. So I prepared a kind of a small grid here. You can see it here, right? So now just imagine, just look into this. So this is the x-axis what I have, and the one which goes in this direction, right? So it's a y-axis. It's a very simple thing to understand. This is my x-axis, and the one which goes in this direction, it's a y-axis, right? Yeah. So again, I'll go back to the Etabs now. It's the same thing what you can see here. Number of grid lines in the x direction. It means that along the x-axis, how many number of grid lines you have. Similarly, you have a number of grid lines in the y direction. That means how many grid lines you have along the y direction. We'll try to count that now. Yeah. So this is my x direction, right? Let me make use of yeah. So you can see this is my x direction. Okay, and this is my y direction. So along the x direction, how many grid lines you have? See the one, this, let me, see these things what you have now, the vertical lines what I have put up here. These vertical lines what I have put up here, they are the grid lines, right? Now how many such types of grid lines are there? Try to count them once. So let me count it. This is one grid line, this is second grid line, this is third grid line, and this is fourth grid line. Why I'm counting it here? Because I'm moving along the x direction, right? So 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll go back to the Etab now, and I'll say to the Etab that there are 4 number of grid lines along the x direction. By default it is 4 written here. Let me write it back again, it's 4. Similarly, come back and see how many are there in the y direction. Let me try to minimize this. So along the y direction, this is, you have to count from here. You have 1, this is the second one, right? This is the third one, and this is the fourth one. So along the y direction also you have 4, right? So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that is the reason I'll go back to the Etab and I'll say number of grid lines in the y direction, they are also 4. Yeah. Now he's asking us, tell me the spacing of grid in the x direction. That means you can delete all these things. Yeah, you can see the spacing between these two grid lines. You can see a spacing between these two grid lines. You can see the spacing between these two grid lines. You have certain spacing, right? Let us say you don't know how to do that. If you're new to the Autocad, click on this option here, and from here try to drag it. Keep it here. Yeah. I'll keep it here, and from here I'll keep it here. Put it in this way. So you're getting 3000, right? So this is in mm. If you want to put this in meter, it comes out to be 3 meter. So from this grid line to this grid line, it is 3000 mm. From here to here also it is 3000 mm, and from here to here it is 3000 mm, right? So this is along the x direction. So I'll go back to the Etab now, and I'll say to the Etab, spacing of grid in x direction is 3 meter, right? Similarly, come to the spacing of grid in the y direction. So again, along the y direction, what is the spacing that you have? So from this grid line to this grid line, the spacing is 5500, which comes out to be 5.5 meter. From the second grid line to third grid line, it is 5500, and from the third to the fourth, again it is 5500. That means they all are uniform spacing, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'll enter 5.5 here. Number of grid in the y direction, yeah, number of grid in the y direction is 5.5 meter, right? So once this is done, what I need to do, we'll come back to this after some time. I'll click on OK, right? So right now, whatever plan I was showing you, they are uniform spacing. That means, see, here also it is 3000, 3000, 3000, and here also it is 5500, 5500 and 5500. Once this is done, everything is put up here by me. So I'll click on OK, and we'll try to see whether the same grid appears or not. Yeah. So you can appreciate this now. Again, it's a plan window. it's a 3D window. So you can see this is one grid line A, this is B, this is C, and this is D grid line. Similarly, this is one grid line, this is two grid line, this is three grid line, and this is four grid line. The same thing could have done by you also with the help of AutoCAD. You could have put A, B, C, D naming could have given, but I did not do that. As of now, it's not required. Yeah, but Etabs will give it on its own, like A, B, C, D, and 1, 2, 3, 4. In the upcoming lectures, we'll try to see how we can try to change all this A, B, C, D from here. Yeah, now you can appreciate this. It's 3 meter, 3 meter, and 3 meter, 5.5, 5.5, and 5.5. So whatever we saw there, the same thing has come here. Now, usually in real practice, this is not the kind of a structure that we try to get. Usually, you are not going to get a uniform spacing between each grid line. Let us say you get something like this. Okay. What I've done here, let us say this is 3 meter, 3 meter, and 3 meter. But here what has happened, it has come to be 5.5 meter, but this has come out to be 6.5 meter, and let us say this has come out to be 5.5 meter again. So in that case, whatever option we use now, that will not be useful, because here the grid spacing is not same. Everywhere it is same, but in this particular position from this to this, it is not same. So then we cannot make use of that particular option. Then we have to go back to the other option. We'll try to see that option now. I'll go back to the Etabs software. Let me go to File, New Model. Yeah, I'll go back to this. I'll click on OK. So this time I'll not make use of this. Instead, I'll go to option called Custom Grid Spacing. And practically when we try to work, this is the one which we try to use and not the uniform grid spacing. So the moment I click on Custom Grid Spacing, you can see specified data for the grid lines. I'll click on Edit Grid Data. So once I click on this, a lot of tools and other things have pop up. We'll not concentrate on this for time being. Just look into this. It's written here rectangular grids. The first option is Display Grid Data has Ordinates, and the second option is Display Grid Data has Spacing. So we'll try to understand this. The first is a Display Grid Data has Ordinates. This means that whenever you try to put the grid lines, you have to consider one particular point from where you are going to count it. That means, let me do this. Let us consider this is the point what I am considering now. From here I'll try to measure. From here to here, how much it is? It is 3 meter, right? We can see it. Now the next point also I'll be measuring from here only. That is from here to here to this grid line. What is the distance? It is 3 meter. Again from here to here it is 3 meter. But from here to here it comes out to be 3 plus 3 comes out to be 6 meter. Right? Similarly from this grid line only to this grid line, what I have now? Yeah, how much it comes out to be? It is 3 to 3 from center to center. But from here it comes out to be 3 plus 3 plus 3. It comes out to be 9 meter. Right? So in this way you need to put the grid lines. Similarly for the y direction, one thing you need to understand, whenever we put a grid line, for x direction we go from left to right, that is from this point to this point. But for y direction, what we try to do, we come from the bottom to the top. Always remember that we are not going to measure the distance from top to the bottom. Instead we are going from bottom to top. So that is a reason what I'm gonna do, I'll try to put the line here. So this is that line what I need, right? So I'll start from here. From here to here, what is the distance? The distance is 5.5. This remains as 5.5 only. Yeah. Next from here to here, how much it comes out to be? 5.5 plus 6.5. It comes out to be 12, right? Yeah. And now from here to this position, what is the length I have? It is 12 plus 5, it comes out to be 17.5, right? So now when I try to input these values, I have to input in this way 5.5, 12 and 17.5, right? In this way I need to proceed. So we'll try to do the same thing there. Let me clear everything. If not clear, we'll keep this only, okay, so that we can make use of this. Yeah, always remember it's written here grid name, that is A, B, C, D. You can see A here, you can see B here, C here and D. It's the same thing here. Just in case if you don't want A here, and the same way look into the Y grid data. We have 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? So that is the reason 1, 2, 3 and 4. Right now I told you we are going to measure it from the bottom to the top. That is the reason you can see the number 1 here, it's written in the bottom, then the 2 is after that, the 3 is after that. That means you're going from bottom to top. Whereas for the X grid data, that is for the X grid data, you're going from A, B, C, D. That means you're going from A, B, C, D. You're going from left to right. And for Y, you're going from bottom to top, right? The first is always 0 because the X coordinate, we are going to start from this particular place, right? So it will be always 0, 0. That is the reason you can see 0 here in the X, and similarly in the Y you can see 0. That is the reason we always tell it's a 0, 0 from here. With reference to this, I am going in X ordinate, and with reference to this, I am going in a Y ordinate, right? Yeah. Now we'll start that. So coming to the second point. What is the second point? First is 0. From here to here, the distance is 3 meter, right? So I'll input 3 meter here. The next is that from here only I have to measure the distance up to here. So this is 3 and this is 3. So 3 plus 3 comes out to be 6. So in the C I'll put on 6. Next, from here to here it comes out to be 6 plus 3. That is 3 plus 3 plus 3. It comes out to be 9. So you click on 9. Right? So you're taking one particular point, and with reference to this point you are measuring the distance. Now so far what we did is along the x-axis. Now we'll try to do along the y-axis. Again the first will be always 0. Coming to this point, what is the first thing? It is 5.5. If you're finding it difficult from here, I'll take you to the Autocad only. See, this is what we did actually, okay? So from here it is 5.5. Next, again from here to here the distance will be 5.5 plus 6.5. Again from here to here the distance will be up to this point. That will be 5.5 plus 6.5 plus 5.5. So first will be 0. The second will be 5.5. The third will be 12, right? You can see 12 here, and the last will be 12 plus 5.5. It comes out to be 17.5, right? Yeah. So once you're done with all these things, click on the OK button, and click on the OK button. Now you try to see whether the same grid has appeared or not. Yeah. So you can see this, right? Again, it's a 3 meter, 3 meter, and 3 meter, and you can see it's 5.5. It's the same thing what we wanted. Again, we got 6.5 here, then we got 5.5 here. So in this way, you can try to make use of two options. The first is the uniform grid spacing. The second is the custom grid. And always remember, the second option that we have, that is the one which we practically try to make use of. In the next lecture, we'll try to take one practical project, something like this. It's a small house plan what we have. We have a lot of columns located, and we'll try to see how these columns have to be taken out, something like this. And based on that, we'll try to prepare a grid line. And after that, we'll try to make use of this particular grid line and input that. I mean, we'll try to draw the same thing with the help of a Etabs software, right? So in this way, we'll be able to relate the application of the Etabs software, and we'll also be able to see how practical these things are done. So we'll see you back in the next lecture. Thank you.